I started in judo about when I was 10 years old, and that's about 1930. This is about the height of the Depression, and the way we got in was because we had no place else to go to for any community social activity.
I think I was 20 years old, and I started judo in Poston, Arizona internment camp. I never took judo before. I took kendo for 12 years. Then we went into camp. And since they wouldn't allow kendo in camp because they were afraid of the samurai spirit, you know. Gis my mother made out of duck claw. She made it by hand, yeah, and then it was so hot that we had to practice early in the morning. Well, we practiced on, we didn't have any tatami at that time, and they just put sawdust and put a canvas on top of that. So it used to get pretty lumpy and pretty hard at times.
Competition between camps. Well, there was what they call, there were two camps in Gila River project. It was called Canal and Butte Camp. We used to compete among.
After service, I came back in 1946. In 1947, we started Sanzei Buddhist Judo Club, and it was very interesting because Sam Delamajori, who I knew real well, and I lived on his farm, and he said, well, why don't you start judo again? And I said, oh, yeah, but I don't have any, we don't have any mats. He says, I know, I can help you with this. We could go to surplus supply house and get some mats. In 1948, we got quite a few people to join. There was Don Kikuchi, who everybody knows as Moon, Sam Hamai, Tamo Kitaura, and Mitz Endo, and all these people came to say, hey, we like to practice judo.
The gym was made of corrugated, what was that? Metal siding. Metal sheeting. Yes. Yeah. So in the summer we were hot, and in the winter time we hear the raindrops falling on the roof, and we were freezing then too because it was so cold. So we had to work out hard.
Yosh had to make us work. You really made us work out.
Okay, 1953, Moon, you take care of Sanzei Buddhist. You and mid-end of the San Jose Buddhist, and we'll form another one at Palo Alto, and Sam, Amai, and Tamo. So you guys, you're Tom's from Redwood City, Sam is Palo Alto, let's start one there, and then we have, we had all these Japan students that came. They would work out at San Jose State, and then they would go to San Jose Buddhist. Monday and Thursday nights and help out. So Henry Stone, who I knew at University of California, I asked him, how can you become a sport? He said, well, you have to have a weight system, and then you have to have rules. Henry Stone and myself, Mitch Kimura was involved in it, and we sat down and kept going. So in 1953, we had the first national AAU championship at San Jose State. We had no idea where judo was being practiced, so we went from New York, any Buddhist churches, JCL, any Methodist church, or wherever it says Japanese on there, we sent out an entry form and invitation to participate in this tournament. We got about 120 people that came, and so this was the start of the first national AAU Judo Championship.
The first senior nationals were held over a 2-day period. Don Kikuchi captured the 180-pound division at the age of 29 years old after fighting 11 rounds. He would later retire that year from competition. A young student at the age of 21 named Lyle Hunt won the heavyweight championship and went on to win the first grand championship, a playoff between 4 champions, in which he was the winner. He would compete a few more years and later retire. Both he and Don became good friends and helped build judo in San Jose. Throughout the 1950s, the San Jose Buddhist Judo Club grew as more children joined. Families including the Kimuras, the Nakaos, and the Maedas all joined during this time. The parents also became involved with the club.
About $5 a month or something just for, for the mat or something. And we were able to use the church gym free. They didn't charge us at all for the use of the gym. We had to go to Okita Hall when these buildings here were torn down and rebuilt. So it was about 2 or 3 years we went.
Yeah, concrete flooring.
Yeah, concrete flooring, so.
Well, it was hard.
Parent support that kept us together. The parents got their kids, and it was a social activity for them.
Don Kikuchi was going to go with the 2 boys to the judo tournament in Tampa, Florida. It was a Thursday night, and he was supposed to leave Saturday morning to go to Tampa, Florida. I'm not going to go. I said, what do you mean you're not going? So that night, I passed the hat around, and I made enough money. That night, I collected enough money. I told Moon, here's your $180 to go buy yourself a ticket. And no, I don't want to go. I said,
you know how it is.
No. Well, I got the money now. I said, you got to go. I told him. So he said, okay, then I'll go then. So that's where one of my parents' club. So we started the parents' club.
The man may be the president, but women do all the work. That's right. Even today, yeah, the women do all the work.
Well, I guess she did.
We do the kaimon, the book work.
So we started
organizing the potlucks.
So we started with had rubbish sales on Market Street. That's pretty soon I said, gee, we're not making enough money. Well, then we'll do something else. Then we'll start bingo game. So we start bingo game and try to raise money. No, that was too slow. So what shall we do next then? Well, let's start raffle. And that's where the raffle money, we found out we can make money on raffle.
I never really realized how difficult it was to teach judo. A lot of the other key instructors, like I said, Mr. Kikuchi, he was the person that I could always go to when my father was chewing me out or hitting me on the head with the broom. He would always be the kind of guy that says, "Hey, Mark, don't worry about it. Everything will be fine." So, Mr. Kikuchi was very helpful in a lot of the fundamentals when I started. A lot of the falling and a lot of the basic fundamentals, but also the overall etiquette and things that are very, very important. A lot of the formalities, I never really realized how important that was, and I think Mr. Kikuchi was very strong in those areas.
I don't know. I remember coming back. First thing I realized was that Moon Kikuchi hadn't changed one bit. I mean, he looked like exactly the same man as when I left 18 years before.
He always looked the same to me.
Yeah.
Right. Never seemed to change. Kim always looked the same.
I remember one of my aunts telling me that Dad loved judo so much and he wanted to go to practice as much as he could. He would sit on his father's lap, who was blind, and steer the car while his father would work the pedals. He really, truly loved judo.
I have to say that it was pretty challenging, being a son of an instructor. But he tried to have keep a balance.
A little giggle at the end. He'd say something, and he'd kind of that always it really cracked me up every time. He'd come up with something unusual to say, and it always made people laugh. And he always had fun.
They're all tough, and just because they're old, you should never sell them short because they know what they're talking about.
The Judo Club returned to the newly built church annex in 1960, now the current location of the dojo. We began rolling mats out on every night at 6:30, and everyone came very early to roll out the mats, because by the time judo practice started, if you weren't there early enough, you wouldn't get a space on the mat.
I didn't have a partner, and of course Sensei Kikuchi was just sitting there, and he noticed that I didn't have a partner. And so we went Newaza together. And he got me into Sankaku Jimen, right? And he was laughing the whole time because I was struggling and just couldn't get out.
Had fun, but trained hard.
The competition was that important to them. They didn't really feel that we had to get first place in every tournament. I think the main thing that they wanted to make sure is that we represented San Jose Buddhists. And also, I think their main thing was to understand that the San Jose Buddhist people had very strong techniques and played very fairly, played very fairly.
Probably one of the biggest influences that judo has in my life is that kind of like that never give up attitude.
tournament. Well, this was, I don't know if it was my first or second tournament, and I had to fight a girl. So more than anything, I think I was so afraid. I couldn't, you know, I don't know what it was. I just couldn't get myself to do anything. I just, like this. And then we ended up a draw, you know, and I thought, wow, that was terrible. But yeah, I don't know. I just we never practiced against women. I'd never even seen a girl, you know, doing judo like at our place when we went to Stockton. We had a tournament in Palo Alto. This was the summertime, and my mom guys were gone, and they were on vacation down to LA or something. Anyway, I guess I had been 16 because I drove myself. And that was the first time that I went to a tournament and I threw about 3 or 4 guys. And then I don't know, maybe a light went off or something, and from that point on, but it took me that long before I could do anything, and I don't know why. See, that was at the World's Fair in New York at Flushing Meadows. What I remember about it is that we had the tournament during the daytime, but it was outdoors in like a single bowl, and the mats were so hot that everybody was getting blisters on their feet. So they had to cancel the matches until evening time, so we had to go back at nighttime to do it. I still remember that.
Harry Kimura captured the 176-pound division and became San Jose Buddhist's second national champion.
Henry Stone had visions. He said, we want to get this into the Olympics. And he said, how do you get into the Olympics? He said, we don't know anything about getting judo into the Olympics. We don't know anybody. So he said, well, I know a friend. He says, Abrish Brundage, who was the president of International Olympics. The Olympics was held in Tokyo.
Well, and then I think I remember the Olympic trials that same year. It was, I think the nationals were early in the year, and then the Olympic trials was the same year, but a little bit later in the year. And I remember fighting a guy named Ron Hubbard. He was from the Air Force. And then I can't remember who else, but and then James Brigman. We fought for, I think, 10 minutes, and it was a draw. You know? So then we had to go overtime. And in the overtime, I went in for a throw, and he picked me up, and I came back down. And from what I understand, that was the determining factor of who won, and James, they gave him the decision.
The San Jose Buddhist Judo Club participated in the second Junior National Championships that were held in Chicago, Illinois, the first one being in Florida in 1964. Don Kikuchi took 4 students to the Junior Nationals that year.
Met Mr. Kikuchi and came down to San Jose. That was in 1984. And that was 2 weeks before the Nationals. Sensei Kikuchi looked at Serena and says, shook his head, she's not ready. And I said, she really wants to go. And he said, well, if you really want to go, just go ahead and just go. Just for the
Yuzo was technician, but he was sort of a little bit strong too, you know.
Worked out a lot with a lot of the teams from Japan, and that was one of the things that was very instrumental in us, I think, becoming better technicians. We had people like Mr. Eiji and Kenji Watanabe.
social activities seem to endure throughout the years.
Police officers and on highway patrol, taking judo, and then their wife, sometimes somebody finds out their wife, their husband's a policeman. People just ignore them.
She said they don't have no friends.
And they said, you people here in judo,
the nicest.
you treat us just like other people.
The foods always seemed to be the center of the activity, and there was always plenty of food at any judo function. In the early years, the Nakao family always bought literally pots of food, no matter where we went, whether it be a Christmas party or a judo tournament. We believe that the Nakao family and the San Jose Buddhist Judo Club were the first tailgaters ever.
He's just one of a kind. Just one of a kind.
Attack, Kai! Attack!
Yeah! Respect for each other, that we are able to carry on that way. We all have a part of him in us.
Extended family, our judo family has carried us through these rough times and hopefully embellished the good times.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes San Jose Buddhist or judo in this whole area a special thing.
Yeah, I think that.
The San Jose Buddhist Judo Club, it's about the kids.